Grab your cocktail and get ready for this episode of the Old Fashion Masonic Podcast. Welcome to the Old Fashion Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons while drinking an old fashioned. I'm Brian, and yes, you see two people on the screen, but we're not next to each other, so it's a little bit of a different format, and I can't think of a better person that we're going to bring this format to the table, and you're going to understand why we do this in just a second. So after all that, I'd like to welcome to the podcast Khadim Lo. Welcome, Khadim.
Thank you, brother. I'm very, very delighted to be here. It's an honor to be featured on this episode today.
Oh, this is exciting. So for everyone who's paying attention, like Byrd, why are you doing it on Zoom? You usually do it in your podcast room. What the heck is going on? Well, there's only so many people in Kansas that we can talk to. I mean, heaven forbid, there's like 13 of us, and we've talked to all 13 people in the state. So we're branching out, but all of the Texans who follow us, you know this guy. You see him all over social media. He's everywhere. I mean, Mr. Big Time here. But tell the listeners, so where you're at right now, tell me what time it is.
So it is currently 1 a.m. somewhere in North Africa in the country of Morocco.
So for those who didn't listen, he's in Morocco and it's 1:30 in the morning. So let me just tell you, you want to talk about Masonry? I've been trying to get him on. I'm just like, hey, are you ready? And I had to twist his arm. And he's like, all right, can this time work? And thank you again for giving up your 1:30 a.m. time slot for us. It's very important. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And it's my pleasure to be here.
Perfect. So just like we do on every episode of the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast, we like to know as much about the man as much as we do the Mason. So, Brother Lo, tell us who Khadim the man is.
Well. I I was born in a small town, south of France. It's called Marseille. Um, I had a very typical childhood. It's just, born in a Muslim family. And both my parents are from Senegal. It's in West Africa, and I moved to the United States. I was about 20 years old, and today I'm 27.
Yeah.
And I've been a nurse for about 2 years now. Currently, I'm working on advancing more my education, but I'm just very, very. I'd like to think I'm very laid back. So that's really it about me. There's not much.
Well, so there's probably a little bit more, but we'll dive in. So you're definitely chill. You're definitely laid back. So when you came to the States at 20, what brought you here?
So I came for what you'd call in immigration term family reunion. So my siblings have been in the States for about 17 years at a time, because I came in 2017. And after they graduated college and everything, they got married and established their family here in Texas, for some in Colorado. Well, I graduated high school in about 2016, and so they just decided, hey, why don't you just come over here? It's been years we haven't seen you, and you'll get to pursue education and establish your life as well here in the States, and that's what happened.
I love it. I love it. So are your parents, where are they?
So they're both here. They actually also migrated afterwards, or shortly after. My mom is currently in Colorado. My dad is currently in Houston. So we're a family of six, 4 boys, 2 girls, kind of spread apart. So, but we're all moved here. We left everything behind and moved here and started a new life.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a lot was going on and is going on in Senegal. So when your parents left, this has been going on for probably centuries, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's been, some. It's I'd say the economic problem, and there's some internal wars in the I would say in the country region. So it's typical. Family moves. They move in other country in order to find a better life and give their children a better chance of living. So
I love it. I
yeah.
love it. It's really exactly one of the many reasons that the United States was founded for opportunities. And I absolutely love it. And
Mhm.
which is the segue because I love that you're not only able to come to the States, but you're able to start a Masonic journey. So the next question is, or statements, walk us through your Masonic journey from where you started and where you
Mhm.
are now.
So would you be able to repeat the question?
Yeah. So when did you become a Mason and what have you
Okay.
done since you became a Mason? Where were you raised and where are you at now? You've done a lot.
Okay, so I'm a member of Billy Moss 1152 in Denison, North Texas. That's kind of the last lodge you meet when you go into Oklahoma. That's how close we are, about 12 minutes from the border. I've been a Mason for about 2 years. I was raised in 2021, and what I've been doing ever since really is traveling. I'm current elected senior warden of my lodge. Um, and I try to spread the brotherly love and try to help my lodge as much as I can, with time allowing. So yep.
So you became a Mason, 2001. Now you're senior warden, hopefully to advance. What other bodies after Blue Lodge? Where did you go next?
So after Blue Lodge, I have joined the Royal Lodge chapter of Texas. I've done kind of the York Rite, so the Royal Lodge chapter and the Cryptic Council. Then after that, I've done Scottish Rite, Valley of Dallas. I have joined the Hello Shrine. It's in Garland. I would call it a top notch because there's two shrines in Dallas area, but the top shrine in Texas.
Oh my gosh, you just threw
Um,
shade. I love that. That's usually my job.
you've got to put on that temple pride, So
I agree.
um, that, and then I've done the Eastern Star, Dalcliffe, and Dallas, and I've been fortunate enough to have been invited to the Allied Masonic degrees and the Order of Knight Masons, which I've been. That's my most recent body that I joined.
You have visited a lot of lodges in Texas. Do you have a count of how many you've been to?
That's a question that keeps coming back.
Okay.
And to be honest, I don't have a count. I have to go back on Facebook post and count all of them because
More than 20?
um
More than 20?
I would say more than 20. Definitely more than 20. A little less than probably we're looking between 20 and ballpark 35.
Okay.
Just about.
That
Yeah.
that's a lot. And you're still an officer of your own lodge.
Yes. Part of that is I would say thanks to a I'm single. Okay. That I think that makes a whole lot of difference.
It does.
Don't have children. So besides work and school, there's I live independently, so there's not much of home responsibility.
It's your
So
hobby.
exactly, I'm able to free up every night and get to just travel and whichever lodges I'm thinking of that day, and I call him up and say, "Hey, what do you got going on?" And I'll be there, and come and enjoy the fellowship.
I absolutely love that. Yeah, again, just all over the place. I don't know if he's in a red jacket this time, a purple jacket is, I mean, what's he doing? Is he with Billings? I mean, I see him with Bad Brad all the time. It's like, what is going on? I love it. I love the enthusiasm. Our fraternities, we're aging. I'm one of the old guys anymore, right? So we are starting to
Mhm.
age, but every time that I see you, you're always smiling. And I think, first of all, I didn't know you were 27. I don't know what I thought, but it wasn't 27. But now
Oh,
it's like, wow, this young dude is excited and it's that infectious smile and that attitude. Those little things move the needle in masonry and just in mankind. So forget masonry, but just you just put off that vibe like you're just a good human, and I'm glad that you're part of the fraternity. Right? It's awesome.
yeah, it is. I'm very, very, very grateful, and I enjoy the fraternity 100 times. You know, the way it started all is at the time I was a CNA, in a nursing home, and there was this patient that he had Masonic stuff on the wall, and I didn't want to ask much, but you look at the square and compass, and you're like, oh well, okay, he's part of a fraternity. Well,
Yeah.
one day he looked at me, he's smiling, he said, "Do you know about the Masons?" I said, "Well, besides what's on internet and stuff, not much,
Yeah.
but." And then he looked at me and smiled harder, and he said, "I think you will enjoy it. I think you do." I asked him, I said, "What makes you say that?" And he said, "I just know that you will enjoy it."
Good for him.
And basically told me, he said, "Well, here you've got the lodge nearby. Stop by and tell them I sent you, and see what they do to you." And at first, I would say, "Well, okay," and kind of leave it at that. But one day, I happened to drive by the lodge, and they were having dinner, and I said, "Well, you know what? There's a lot of cars. Let me see what's going on." And I stopped by, and I told him, I said, "Hey, there's a brother Mason, and told me to stop by and see what's going on." And they all were smiling and said, "Hey, well, welcome, welcome. You will never feel a stranger here."
I
And
love
I
it.
felt right comfortable. Then
How
these
nervous
guys
were
didn't
you
know me.
before that? When you drove up, were there some nerves like, oh my gosh, are these Texans ready for me?
Yes, no, literally. And again, it's the fear of the unknown, but they made me comfortable. They talked to me and asked me, what I was doing, and all about, ask about me, and they gave me a petition. And I said, okay, I'll get to fill it up, and basically the rest is history.
So this is the thing I always talk about to people about masonry. When people say, I don't understand how a 95-year-old and an 18-year-old can talk. I don't understand how a guy from Kansas and a guy from France are just chilling and talking about whatever. It must be a cult. No, we push all the nonsense aside and we just want to know who you are. We're just trying to carry on what's written in the great books, right? We're just trying to be.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it's not complicated. It really won't.
Hmm.
It's not complicated, and I think
That
that's where people are freaked out because they just don't understand it.
I agree, and that ability to sit down with that guy that's 65 and he calls you brother.
Yep,
I mean, that's awesome.
and they mean it,
They mean it.
right?
You're treated on the level, and that's awesome.
Yeah. So let's kind of go back a little bit.
Okay.
So you're in Morocco now.
Mhm.
Part of the reason you're there is why?
So, good question. It's one of these things that you start traveling and you start discovering things, and you ask yourself some further question. So, I am from a Muslim family, and I get to I want to see how Masonry is, practice in the Middle Eastern, this Arabic Muslim influenced countries.
Yeah.
And it's why I'm here, that research for more. Say, hey, well, this guy's Morocco's a Mason. How does it, what's his ritual like with, a different book of faith on the altar? Um, and so that's really that curiosity that brought me here.
So let me ask you this. So
Hmm.
do you reach out? Do you say, "Hey, I'm a Mason. I'm in town. Can I come to a lodge?" How does that work, and how does all that go about?
That is a great question, and I think that is a subject that a lot of brothers need to be very educated about. When traveling, I'd say within the jurisdiction, you would always want to give a courtesy call to the secretary of the lodge. Grand Lodge has a website, and you can find any lodge within the state. But I think when you go out of jurisdiction within the United States or worldwide, you need to have your Grand Lodge contact the Grand Lodge of the country to which you're wanting to go. And truth to be told, it's been this past 3 weeks. I found out a lot of brothers are either do not know about that process or try to go around it. Well, that is the correct process. I would call our Right Worshipful Bride Billings. He's got a wonderful staff, and Brother Jeffrey Frazier. is in charge of our fraternal relationship. And so what he does is I call him and I say, hey, I have, I'm going to this country from this date to this date, and I'd like to visit lodges. Well, now he sets up the email and he contacts the Grand Lodge and say, hey, we have a brother that's going to travel and like to visit lodges, and do all the paperwork. They exchange the certificate of good standing, and then basically it's a red carpet roller. If I say, um, fast forward, he'll call me back and say, hey, I've got you set up. When you get there, this is a contact point you have. Call them up and just introduce yourself, and they'll take care of it from there. And you fly in the country and contact the person and introduce yourself, and they're always happy to have visitors. They're always happy, and they're here you go.
So let me ask you this. So we've done a piece recently with a Grand Master of DMLA International, talked about how Masonry really, most places other than outside the United States and England, is growing.
Mhm.
Are
Mhm.
you seeing that in Africa, specifically Morocco? Are they growing?
It is, in a sense that actually this Grand Lodge is very young. For so long they had other obediences running, and the king recently allowed Masonry. So a few brothers organized themselves in a regular Grand Lodge of Morocco. They're still working recognition details with UGLE, but they're growing because I think nowadays a lot of men are looking for that camaraderie, that fellowship, something that society today doesn't necessarily offer, and more and more of them are trying to join the ranks of Masonry.
So that's great. We've got a past potentate out of Midian in Wichita. His name is Lynn Ungles, and he says this often, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's something to this effect. If more men were Masons, I believe there would be less problems in the world. And I believe that. We still have our own internal struggles. I mean, for some reason, we like to beef with each other, but at the end of the day,
Yeah,
we may beef, but if an outsider wants to beef with us, that's a problem.
that is a problem.
And
I agree.
I love it. So let me ask you this: in
Mhm.
Morocco, what, how are the dues converted to U.S. dollars compared to the States? Is it very expensive over there?
It is. It is. So if I give you a comparison, my Blue Lodge is $75 a year.
It's crazy.
That's a drop in the bucket. Well, here, just to initiate yourself, you need right about $1,000.
U.S.
Just to US dollars, yes.
for
Just for
initiation.
initiation.
Yeah.
And every year you need to pay right about, I would say, in US dollar would probably be equivalent of like, I think right half of that or so
About
every year.
$500 a year.
About, yeah, you're looking at 500, about 5 to 650, right about
Yeah.
every year.
The dues in the United States have been low for so long, and it
Hmm.
haven't really moved with inflation. So
Hmm.
I have a stance that I won't get on too much, but I believe that our dues should have been increasing just to kind of help us maintain the quality of Masonic life, so to speak. And I think unfortunately some
Hmm.
places we waited too long and it's caused some problems, and then we're going to have to accelerate, which is going to cause problems. We've got a very our average age in masonry is very old. It's probably 65 to 67 years old. And at the end of the day, math is math. And in 10 years, masonry is going to look way different if we don't recalibrate a bit.
Absolutely. I do agree to that. And I also believe, those should be raised because today we've got so many subscription. I mean, Netflix is 14 going up and people still paying for it, Disney, etc. I think Masonry should, if it means something to you, then you got to be willing to put your hands in your pocket.
What I see in the next 5 or 6 years or 5 to 10 years is, a lot of people say, man, all of my dues come all of my bodies, I have to pay it at the same time, like in Kansas. It's always in December. But man, if you could, they're $75, but man, I'd pay $10 a month if you'd let me pay monthly. Well, that's $120 a year, but we're so programmed to pay subscription. I think if we'd come outside, if we'd get out of our way, we could probably accommodate better and save a lot of our non-payment of dues.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
And it came out to be the best solution for most brothers. They send out money every month. I like to pay in advance.
yeah, oh,
I hope it doesn't sound too bad, but I send my dues about at each time I'd send paid 3 years in advance.
yeah,
That way I don't, if I forget about it, but I know it's paid, and
that's right.
when the dues come in the mail, it reminds me. So yeah.
Yeah, and in Kansas, we can be a lifetime member. It used to be 20 years times due as lifetime, and I think it's 25 now. But
Oh.
I was the same way. It's like, you know what? When I joined, I'm younger. I know I'm going to be here. It's going to be of value, blah,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. So, because you get to the part where you believe it, it's like, you know what? If something happens and I pass away, I want to die a Mason. And not that my lodge wouldn't take care of me, but I want to know I don't have to worry about that, right? So,
Right.
so have you
Absolutely.
sat in a lodge in Africa yet?
Yes. So here in Morocco, I plan to do more. I've did already about 3 lodges.
How different,
Um,
without giving detail, how different?
they're it's a lot different than what we know in Texas, for sure.
They open and close,
Because
have some similar type.
open and close, yeah, it's more of a Scottish Rite ritual.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it is. And then the book on the altar. There's other books of faith, but the one predominant is the Quran.
Sure.
And so it is quite interesting. How they do things, and in Texas we eat before, they eat after. In a
We
festive
do
board
it we
form, and
in Kansas as well.
yeah, and so the dress code and everything is different, but I think it's part of the travels. It's you get to discover all of that and enjoy it and appreciate it, and get to even why not pick ideas from it, that you want to bring back and just talk it up. So yeah.
So the attire, suits, or is it a Moroccan vibe? What's the vibe?
Suit,
Suit,
suit, all black, everything black, shoes except your shirt, but
right?
tie black, everything black. And I mean, not to talk bad. It's not a bad thing, but just to say how strict it is. I had a dark blue tie, and I was told it's just not, proper attire. So someone gave me a black tie, and I made it in the meeting, thankfully, but it is very strict.
So I personally like that. That's just me. I'm old school. So if I go to church, I still have a problem if the pastor's not in a jacket. But I have to get over myself with that. So, but I like that because it reminds you when you're dressed the part when you go there. I think you're less apt to be playing grab ass on the sideline.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. And I
So
and I think it just goes back to that notion of level. You all recognize who's the doctor, who's the plumber, who's the teacher, because they all dress the same.
yeah,
So
yeah, I
it's
like it.
it's perfect for me.
So how many members are in a lodge meeting there that you've been in on average?
The average was about 10, 10
Okay.
to 12.
Okay.
Again, they're relatively young lodges, but for membership wise, I mean, it's going up. They're having a positive growth. I think their next 5 to 10 years, they're looking at chartering. I think it's like more 5 lodges just about, because guys are discovering masonry under other lenses, and they're wanting to actively join and participate and do things. So
What's their
it's a different
organization
perspective.
over there? What are their philanthropies?
So they don't have any active philanthropy
What's he
besides,
do?
like, the brothers.
Right.
I think they're trying to get into Shriners now. They
Okay.
are. There's talks for that, Grotto as well. just because the fez thing that
Like behind,
originated from.
yeah, like behind.
Yes, exactly what you got on the shelf, and there's a lot of fezzes that you see here, not necessarily Shriner, but they make a lot of fezzes
Started in
here.
Fez, Morocco.
Fez Morocco, exactly. And they were pretty pleased to hear about that. And so they're trying to make it, because it's not with Islam and everything, it's just a different perspective, but they're trying to make it more I would say offensive, more known in a way. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's I think it's great. Fast forward, you never know in 20 years it looks like there could be a Shriners Hospitals for Children over there. And I
absolutely.
would argue on that continent, it could probably be put to really good use.
Oh yes, most definitely. I think there needs to be a lot more of the, Scottish Rite Hospital for Children, Shriners,
Yeah.
and even the Grotto charities. It needs more. We need more of that here in Africa. It's definitely some use for that here.
Well, and the great thing about that, I think, as men, we want to be part of something larger than ourselves. And what a great
Absolutely.
way to join something, find the fellowship, and oh, by the way, I get to help my community. And I think that's the
Mhm.
essence of Masonry that sometimes we forget when we're getting all full of ourselves as Masons and egos, and we want to beef back and forth. We forget about the mission.
That is true. That is true. And how many people out there know about the Shriners, but don't know that Shriners are Masons?
Right.
They know about the Scottish Rite Hospital, but don't know Scottish Rite, from Masonry. So there's a big disconnect, and I think all that the charity work, you know, participates in, I think, making a better image for Masonry,
Yeah.
and make people know that we're all one, and we're working towards a common goal. You know.
Right. So I want to ask you two more questions before I get to the most important question of the podcast. All right. So
Okay.
the first question is this: realistically, where do you
Mhm.
see US Masonry in 10 years?
That is a big question, I think, but in 10 years, Lord, well, you know, I think I would see a lot more of going back to the roots of, what Masonry was before
Yep.
uh, the deep research for esoterics. Um, I think we'll see a lot more of camaraderie, fellowship. That search for connection with the fellow men. I think it'll look great. It's a tough question because I mean, you're looking at if you want to look at state by state, but it'll look great. I think we'll have a positive outlook in 10 years.
I love it. I love the positivity. So if you had a magic wand,
Hmm.
what would you, and you could only do one thing, boom, I tapped a magic wand for Masonry. What would you want done with that magic wand?
What would I want done?
Yeah. Do you want more members? Do you want dues raised? Do you want less members? Do you want 1 day classes?
Yeah, I see. I think I would want it.
You know what? Let me repackage it. Let me back it up. You're
Okay.
Grand Master of Texas today. What's your
Okay.
number one goal as Grand Master of Texas if you're there today? Let me just do that.
Wow. I thought I'd get three wishes, but wow, I've never thought of that. Let me see. Um, I want Masonry to be more okay to the public. I would like for the public to be more kind towards Masonry in general. Kind of remove that negative image of Masonry.
Is that something we have to do though too? We have to maybe put ourselves out there a little bit more and kind of pull back the curtain, so to speak.
No, because I think you're probably going to hurt the secrecy. I think.
But what
I
really
think that
are
would
our secrets? What are our secrets, really? You know?
have some brandings, maybe,
Yeah,
but um have more a positive image in a sense that, yeah, put ourselves there, but I think educate the public more about masonry, because again, some countries still, and it's a reality. Like, let's say in Africa, most countries still think it's a witchcraft thing.
right.
Which, when I joined, I didn't see that. But it doesn't matter how many times you can explain some people, it's not, they're still not going to believe you.
Absolutely.
So I want that image just gone, really,
Fair.
you know. So, but that's a really good question.
We'll think about
There's
that
a lot.
the next time we talk. So now for the most
Absolutely.
important question of the podcast. You've
Hmm.
spent some time in Texas. You're darn near a local, right? You've been there so long, you probably got a cowboy hat, you probably got boots. So up on the screen, you're going to see four things, and
Okay.
one of them must go forever. It was never invented. So do you see the four things up? So you got the Dallas
Oh my
Cowboys,
God. You're
the
trying
Dallas.
to get me crucified.
Oh yeah, I love it. The Dallas
Oh,
Cowboys, the Dallas Mavericks, the Houston Astros, and the Texas Rangers. One of these teams was never in Texas. Which one has to go forever? It was never in Texas.
Lord have mercy. Houston Astros.
They got to go?
They gotta go.
You know what? They were stealing signs, those sons of guns back in the day. So Astros,
Yeah.
you're out of here, buddy. So
Astros.
line
Yeah.
them up. All right. So,
Even though I'm going to claim on the air, I am a Colorado sports fan. Okay.
okay. Okay.
But I would say Astros. I don't know why, but it seems to be the most hated team around. So I'll go for that.
Okay. Yeah, it's the safe bet. So Khadim,
Yep.
thank you for coming on the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast. I can't wait to get you on another episode to hear about all your travels. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was an honor. And I hope more brothers can go out there and visit, and travel